Alrighty, so tonight, ladies and gentlemen, what should I do the whole speech? Hey, True Believers England team here with back issue Breen. How is the back, by the way? Many more issues, or
No, I was actually carrying some boxes upstairs, so I'm kind of loosened up. So
oh, there you go. That's good. We did a live stream today, by the way, and we do want to continue this at some time. We were talking about what would have been the perfect time to end a hero or a villain. And so please check that out. It's go to the content. It's right under this one. After you watch this one, though, I was looking for something to talk about, and I came across this article that, of course, it's going to catch my eye. That Tom King is going to write Wonder Woman into a fake Donald Trump news story. It's like, crap. Which one? And I'm trying to think of it, and I'm hoping pee in the bed. You know, I thought that would have been kind of fun, but you know what? This one's from Bounding into Comics. Now, granted, a lot of times I'll jump into the next or wherever they got the story from, because they do sometimes put that up there. But I poked up the story without actually sharing it, so let me do the sharing. Alrighty. Now, once again, this is from Bleeding Cool or Full, Bounding into Comics. So take it with a grain of salt if you have to. But there you go. And hello to Jim, Dave, Maranya. What's up? Former CIA agent Tom King admits new Wonder Woman book is inspired by fake news about President Donald Trump. I guess he will forever be a former CIA agent, but
now I'm assuming that he doesn't think it's fake. But since this is a right-leaning site, they added that.
That is true. If you lean left in the audience, maybe you're actually thinking that, no, this is real, dude. It's real. I saw it on CNN. So yeah, maybe that's the case.
Actually, I go by the Geeky Puppet Show, but you can call me CNN if you want to.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, now it's CNN. CNN is here. Yes. Yes. I don't think anybody from that newscast would ever be here. I saw this article, couldn't read it because the cookies. Yeah. I mentioned that earlier. We were on one stream and it was like 95% advertisements. So.
Well, I saw the article and then I went and ate some cookies.
Oh, that sounds even more fun. I've got this little junkie. He's crashed because he was on a sugar high because of peppermint and root beer barrels.
Okay, what about the bird, though?
Okay, so anywho, it goes on to say DC writer and former CIA agent Tom King, who also happens to be one of those announced architects behind James Gunn's DC Universe, recently admitted that his upcoming Wonder Woman story is inspired by fake news about Donald Trump. Speaking with CBR about that, by the way, I was actually looking at CBR for stuff, but about the upcoming series, King was asked about this idea to have the United States government pass the Amazon Safety Act that bars Amazons from the soil. You remember this? The whole Muslim thing where it's like, oh, he's banning all Muslims from the country. It's like 2 countries out of like 152. Not literally. I'm exaggerating.
Do you know how this would work? If this was like set in The Dark Knight Returns when Bruce is old, that whole story where the president had Superman working for him, having heroes kind of outlawed.
Well, maybe.
That would work.
But yeah, this was actually a real fake news story. And what they did was they took something that was real and they exaggerated it, trying to get Trump labeled racist. The plot point was revealed in Comics' official description, which states, after a mysterious Amazonian is accused of mass murder, Congress passes the Amazon Safety Act, barring all Amazons from U.S. soil to carry out their plans. The government starts a task force, the Amazon's Extradite Entity Acts, to remove those who don't comply by any means necessary. Now, here's the thing. In the comic book, their version of Trump did something that our version, the real version of Trump, never did. Mm-hmm. Now, they say, okay, flat out, all Amazons can't come on US. Never happened, basically because of Wonder Woman. This is written by a man who doesn't believe that Wonder Woman exists, and he's about to write Wonder Woman. Because no way the world would treat Wonder Woman this way.
He's kind of plagiarizing the Supergirl show where they had all aliens were illegal.
Well, yeah. In the Agent Liberty was the villain during that season, right?
I mean, before Trump, if this would have been like 20 years ago, written by a better writer, you could do something like this. Not just Amazonians, but just you could outlaw just except superhero or something like that. Or maybe something happens, or just the fact that maybe when she's first Wonder Woman in her first beginnings coming to America. This is a reboot story, it's an origin story or whatever. One of the many numerous origins. I don't really care how many there are, but you could have her come to America, and like I said, and remember they've been taught men are the villains.
You look like you have something to say there, Eric.
Yeah, well, when VENKMAN said if this were 20 years ago done by a better writer, how it would have been done would have been they call the government calls her in and has a meeting with her and says, look, here's the deal. We've got a Amazonian mass murder. We don't know who it is, blah, blah, blah. You have built up goodwill. This does not, you are exempt. But no Amazons will be allowed to set foot on U.S. soil. So we get to the bottom of this. And of course, she would, not want to go along with that. And that would be your conflict. But
she would find out something about the Amazon being held that needs to go back to Themyscira. So she would break him out, and that's what would really be.
Or she'd say, "Screw you!" If my word's not good enough that it's not an Amazonian or whatever, but you're going to do this to all of my sisters, then up yours, you now have me to deal with.
So,
too.
I remember. Keep going. Sorry.
No, but the idea that you would do this in a world where, wasn't it 3 years ago that they did a big storyline that said Wonder Woman is now the center of the DC universe?
Yeah.
Now they're banning her from
and
where she spent the most time in her career.
For those who remember the Justice League Unlimited cartoon, there was a story where there actually was someone who looked like Wonder Woman going around committing crimes. Turned out to be Athena. So I mean, you could have someone posing as Wonder Woman. I mean, most people don't recognize their own friends, when they see them at Disneyland or Disney World, So you just put another brunette in there.
So Maranya saying Tom King is ripping off current X-Men plot where mutants are being hunted down because of the human murders at the Hellfire Gala. Remember, King's Wonder Woman isn't Diana.
Well, in the very first parts, it's going to be Diana. Okay. There's a story I guess they're going to be doing with that girl though.
Yeah,
And Jim and Joe is saying this sort of thing happened in Amazon Attack. So okay, that there you go.
Yeah,
so yeah, we have and Jim is saying it would have made sense after Amazon's attack, because that was a whole war. That you can understand it.
Yeah,
there is Daniel Sampre, I think his name is, the artist on this. They released 2 panels or 2 pages from the upcoming book, and it's a blonde woman wearing the Wonder Woman outfit, blonde haired.
Okay,
so
maybe that'll have something to do with it. But I'm going to say this to Hillam is saying I'd rather Chuck Dixon wrote this story. I'm going to go off on a limb and say you'd rather Chuck Dixon write most of the Marvel and DC output these days. All right, it goes on. After explaining why he believes Wonder Woman being a rebel differentiates her from... Oh, wait, did I skip something? It concludes now in her search for the truth behind the killing, Wonder Woman finds herself an outlaw in the world she once swore to protect. After explaining why she believes Wonder Woman being a rebel, why he differentiates her from Superman and Batman, and that he's attempting to have the book appeal to his own teenagers because Wonder Woman is somehow against the status quo. He revealed the inspiration for Amazon Safety Act was Donald Trump signing Executive Order 13769, titled Protecting the Nation from Foreign Terrorist Entry into the United States. This is where it was people from two countries could not come in because they were known terrorists. They were known to harbor terrorists anyway. And of course, the fake news media came along and said, he means all. He means all. It only says this, but he means all, because they were a bunch of dumbasses.
It wasn't just for those countries. It was for every single country coming in America. He was.
No. There was only 2 countries.
Yeah, but
there's
Trump
only one country in America.
No, I'm saying no. Trump though, when he did his thing, he was blocking anybody from coming in, not just the Middle East. It was from pretty much all the.
No, it was only from just a few countries. That was the story you're talking about. Is what CNN was.
I'm talking about COVID.
No. This had nothing to do with COVID.
What year is this from? Supposed to be from?
Yeah, this had nothing to do with COVID.
What was saying? What 2017, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. That's too late for. I can't remember that one. And that's why they win all the time, because people forget these
Fighting
shit.
for rights in their satin tights and the old red, white, and blue, says David Sonowitz. I'm assuming he's singing it also.
Eric,
let me get a couple, and we'll go on to the next. Trump used Obama's list of banned countries. That's true. Tom King sounds like a great writer. Also, Nails on Chalkboard sounds like a great lullaby. The article goes on to say, King explained, I don't want this to be my Twitter feed. It has to be bigger than life. It has to be cooler metaphor and not an actuality. I wanted to rebel against some government and be like Stan Lee and Jack Kirby's Hulk, someone throwing tanks around. Tom King is writing Wonder Woman as the villain. She is going against the United States government and the army instead of backing the off.
Flashpoint. That's the perfect way. If you want to have her getting in a fight, destroying American soil, that's Flashpoint. The Amazon versus Atlanteans. But
okay, Eric, she's the Hulk. Wonder Woman smash.
Feminism smash patriarchy.
You know what? This is one time where I wish we had Ethan on the stream with us, because I would love to hear him read this next paragraph in that voice he does when he's making fun of SJWs.
I've never heard it.
Oh, I can't replicate it because I spent too many years.
It's like a nerdy voice.
Oh, it's like
I'll try to replicate. The way that the way that I made that relevant was this idea that the US has turned on the Amazons in a way that resembles the McCarthy era or the Muslim ban we had at the beginning of the Trump administration. All of that power and forces come to her, and she's the one who says, no more, no thank you.
Thank you, Miss Santos.
Say again?
So thank you, Miss Santos.
Okay, that's cool. I'll read it like her too.
He went from Valley Girl to like Canadian.
Oh yeah, no, it's a Valley Girl from Canada.
But that's just what a paragraph full of absolute shit.
It really is.
I didn't read it
I guess because he usually he'll write a male character, but then find the closest female to make the book all about them and emasculate the male. Well, I guess he doesn't have that this time, so he can just go straight to the overpowering the female and just making her. So let's be honest. Whether it's Selena Kyle, Alana Strange, he makes the women in his books completely unlikable bitches. Well, congratulations. We finally, for the first time since James Robinson, we got a straight dude writing Wonder Woman, and he's going to make a great case for why they shouldn't.
All righty. Next up, the Muslim ban moniker was a narrative created by the opponents of Donald Trump in an attempt to weaponize the identity politics against him. The executive order did not name any countries. It certainly did not. I thought it did. Maybe I was wrong about that. Not name the Muslim religion. Instead, it stated suspension of issuances of visas and other immigrants or immigration benefits to nationals of countries of particular concern. And yes, he did use Obama's list.
This is the Middle East pretty much. Yeah.
Those countries of particular concern at the time had been determined by the Department of Homeland Security as Iran, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, Syria, Yemen, and Iraq. So I was wrong. It was more than 2.
Which doesn't make sense because they don't attack us. We're all friends with them. Obama kisses the ring back in the day. So why would he? I don't know.
Upon further review following the signing of the executive order, North Korea, Venezuela, and Chad were also added to the list. Iraq was removed from the list. And even factcheck.org admitted in January 2017, the Pew Research Center estimated that Trump's original executive order would affect only about 12% of the Muslims in the world. The idea that it was a Muslim ban was utterly ridiculous. That being said, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure that this next picture is very representative of Tom King's Wonder Woman.
Question, is that just one Chad or all Chads are banned from the United States?
Yeah, right. So here we have crazy Wonder Woman riding a kangaroo.
You know, Eric, I got one thing I want to say to you. Kangaroo kick!
I actually hear this. Wah! Did you guys hear that song from Little Mermaid with that Asian chick singing like the bird? And she's like, chicka wow wow. That's what I hear when I see this picture.
I think you're the only grown man that watches Little Mermaid.
I did see The Little Mermaid. It wasn't that bad, but
Tommy Kangaroo down.
Yeah, I was good at that too. Crikey.
Sorry, Tim.
This is offensive to Tehillium's people.
Not the first time I've offended.
Why don't they just call it Wonder Woman Down Under?
Well, there's connotations. Not only did King reveal he was inspired by fake news surrounding President Donald Trump, he further explained how Wonder Woman turning to violence means she's losing. Previously, King informed Comic Book Nation that he sees Wonder Woman as a contradiction. As for like who she is as a character, I mean, she's a contradiction. That's the hard about it. The hard part about writing her is that she's almost radical in sort of her belief in love, compassion, and peace, much more so than the sort of Superman and Batman. But she's also, you know, a warrior born. She's someone who comes from a society involved in sort of endless conflict, who trains you to fight. She comes from sort of that Game of Thrones atmosphere. And those two contradictions live inside her. She's someone who wants peace but makes war. And her having to deal with that makes her one of the more interesting characters in fiction. Eric, is that real? Do you find that to be real Wonder Woman? Because I've read Wonder Woman comics, and I'm wondering, it started with Greg Pak. And
I just want to point out if you're reading it wrong. If I may have a chance reading that last paragraph.
Go ahead.
And that's too complicated.
Nope.
Well, you're just jealous because Cartman's better than you.
Yeah.
Baby.
The first part that she's turning to violence means she's losing. That's about the only part of the thing I can actually get behind.
Okay.
You know, that I don't think too many people write her as being absolute perfection. If he doesn't do that, at least that part of it won't suck. But I don't trust Tom King.
I really don't.
Believe me.
I mean, he's made it 2/3 of the way through Danger Street without making it offensively bad. But I'm also wondering, you're 2/3 of the way through. Are you going to do anything?
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, there's no sucking this book unless it's Steve and his boyfriend.
God.
All right, guys, if you haven't done it already, please click all the likes and the shares and all of that. It doesn't cost you a thing, helps out the algorithm. Let's move on here. It says he elaborated on this idea to CBR. I think the contradiction at the heart of Wonder Woman is that makes her interesting and not just someone up on a pedestal, is that she's a warrior for peace. A lot of warriors are, dumbass. She's super empathetic, but a warrior for peace. That means she, every time she throws a punch, every time she's fighting, she's losing. Every time she turns to violence, she's failing, and her life is violence. That's ridiculous.
Okay,
that's ridiculous.
I take back what I said. I should have read the next paragraph before I actually credit him for something yeah, that it's like you were this close to a point.
Peace through strength works. What does that mean for her over the long term? That's that part of what makes her a warrior. Her war is failure. That makes her interesting, compelling, and a cooler character. She's not someone on a pedestal, but someone who is down here on Earth making decisions and compromises that affects all of our lives, putting that good above herself. There was this thing going around, and it is a whole bunch of people that misunderstand Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman is to be an emissary of peace between Themyscira and the man's world. Now, people believe that, okay, if she's fighting, she's losing. This is not new to Tom King. I've heard this before. No, she doesn't fight the people she's trying to make peace with. She fights the people that attack those people. Now, the fact that they said, get off our land, and she's saying no, that's a failure. Because if she comes back and fights, because she should be doing something a little bit more diplomatic. Oy, they walk softly but carry a big stick, said Bugs Bunny.
He just needs to go watch the original Justice League cartoon series and how she treats everything. And Ares had his own machine going, there's conquering everything. It is so much easier, to get Wonder Woman right. Now, if he wants to do a fugitive story, sure. But don't turn it into a political bashing Trump allegory crap. Because that just ruins it for me. I like people being fugitives. Batman being a fugitive, wanted by by the law. When he first started out, I want like I said, I want to have something or it's never done before, and I guess you can say this has been done before with her. People rooting her. Tom King, though, like I said, if you wanted to see him, these emasculating men and praising women, check out the Penguin. Literally, I want you should go over that page by page and just tell me what you think of that.
Okay. You have something to say there, Eric?
No, I was going to say it's amazing how he can be right and wrong literally in the same sentence. And again, I said he's not a dumb man. I don't agree with a lot of what he believes in, and he can be a very good writer. It's just like it's like he can't get out of his own way, and I'm not seeing anything here that tells me this is going to be one of those times where he's going to get in his own way again. I'm afraid.
Despite being a former CIA agent and serving time in Iraq, King appears to have no concept that one can indeed wage war and being violent in order to achieve peace. The National Conference of Catholic blah, blah, blah bishops explained the fundamental reality, the challenge of peace, God's promise, and our response. The St. Augustine viewed war in... Okay, let's get past. All right. Document goes on to explain that recourse to war is still saying the same thing. It's just in the biblical sense. Thus, Diana's belief in love, compassion, and peace actually coincides with her being a warrior and waging war on those who put the lives of innocent at risk. What do you make of Tom King confirming his new Wonder Woman book is about propagandizing current-day identity politics to a new generation? I'll send that question to you first there, Eric. What do you think?
Am I supposed to be surprised?
Thank you. I think you think the same thing. Is like, what? You mean like...
it's even more depressing. They're going to let him... can you do any more damage to Wonder Woman at this point? And go back to that. The smaller I am, the better.
There you go.
I wish. So I don't know if he can do any more damage than Clunrad and whoever, whether parade of mediocrity that's been between James Robinson and this. But and they're doing it with the Flash too. Back to number ones. Here we go again. So it's like they really do. They really are Marvel 5 years behind the curve.
Really are, aren't they?
I know that has nothing to do with Tom King's writing, but. And I'm gonna be curious. I'm not sure that either one of these number ones finish in the top 10 for that month, if we even have access to those numbers anymore, which I know we rarely do. But I don't see it. Yeah, I don't even see this getting a bump. I mean, I don't know if I know Tom King has his fans, and if he's massacring another Batman story, they'll come out. But I don't know that anything else he does at this point sells.
Yeah, that's true. He's done Batman, but can he actually make Wonder Woman popular, especially if he's doing this? Because this, like you said before, and I totally agree, we've got a civil war. We've got some people trying to write good books for DC and some people trying to carry on the politics. And it looks like this is just going to be one more politic book. He's on the opposite side of the good guys here. I
think Tom King is okay. The other side, he's the ally. He's the white straight male who's down with the struggle, and he gives that side some cachet. Yeah, because unlike Jizdia, Vita, Pick a Stephanie, et cetera, he has sold comics. But at this point, I'm not sure his writing is all that much better than the people I just mentioned.
Vita, who? Danny is now the new. I don't think Vita's even writes anymore. Vita? I think it's just Danny.
No, you're right. But now she's more of just like a, what would that make her a verb? I don't know. I never could diagram a sentence.
She said, I'm going to do all this, and then she was replaced by the people that she loves.
You know why she's not getting work? Because she was still so terrified of COVID that she wouldn't leave her apartment. Hey, looks like
God bless COVID.
It looks like she was right all along, because here it comes again. So,
yeah.
Who's laughing now?
We are the silly people who are going to mask up all over again.
Right.
Well, I told you. I said I was watching the Reds game out there out in Arizona. I think that's who was beating in this. I lost track. But they showed a little, couple rows of Reds fans. The two youngest people were masked up. And I said, it's not about. They're not going to convince us. It's about getting the kids to play ball and get used to government control. This is like another drill.
Yep.
But we're not here for that. We're here to bash Tom King.
Well, I usually say Tom King, he usually has about 2 good episodes or issues in him, and then he starts going off the rails. I'm hoping maybe you'll get 2, maybe that, and it'll be a situation where, I don't know. It's going to get people in on that first issue, maybe the second, the third, and by that time, some people might be invested in the story, and then he veers off into shitland.
The first 2 or 3 issues could be the best thing since the Watch Night Returns, and I won't know.
That's true. Person is going to butcher Animal Farm. Yeah, I heard he was writing that too. I'm waiting for him to write the communists as the heroes in Animal Farm.
Either my memory is getting really bad, or my mind is protecting me, because everything you read that was said by Tom King, I don't even remember it at all.
Take the win,
Take the win. Take the win, man. You're doing it the right way.
Hey,
Tom King made Mr. Miracle sad and boring. Little Jimmy Fireball. I'll tell you something. I don't recognize the name. I apologize if you've been around before. If you're new, let me tell you a story about this channel. I used to do this thing called the Spirit Awards, because the Eisners suck. They're all about the politics. So I said, you know what? Let's get you guys voting on what's the best comics, what are the best artists, writers, so forth and so on. So Mr. Miracle comes out, and it's the first 4 or 5 issues, right? And people are loving it. I mean, that you can't find someone who isn't talking about how awesome Mr. Miracle is. All right. So I also came up with something called the Gabby Awards. Gabby Rivera wrote the America Chavez. Today we'd call it the Vitas or something along those lines, because of how bad of a writer she is. And this is the worst comics. Once again, you guys vote on best or worst comic, worst artist, writer, so forth, so on. And the winner of the worst comic, 6 months and later, when Mr. Miracle ended, Tom King. Mr. Miracle sucked. Tom King sucked. There is some, I've never read it. There's something in the middle of Mr. Miracle. It took a left turn that made that the worst book to a lot of people. This was, my channel was on a rise. There were a lot more viewers at the time. And I mean, that's Tom King for you. That's why I say he's got a couple of good issues in him, but then he's going to betray you.
Didn't it take about halfway through the series where people figured out that Mr. Miracle's goal in the series was to commit suicide? That's
well, it starts off. He's sitting. I did read the first issue, and he starts off. He's sitting in the bathroom covered in blood. So I kind of figured right away he was.
Oh, he's having his time of the month.
Or he could have pissed Bart off.
Yeah, I can't imagine that fight going well. That is one thing you can count on Mr. Miracle not being a member of the Slapaho tribe, because Big Barda would knock the shit out of him. Let's see.
He'd
yeah,
probably break his hand
with
first.
The 5 books as Ahsoka, and let's see. Tom King at best had 5 good issues in 2018.
I will say this.
Go ahead.
I will say this about Mr. Miracle. The kind of jokes you make, the Gale, he can escape from getting punished. You can't.
That's great. Yeah, Gail puts up with a lot. She's good people.
She beats you up. There's bruises. He has makeup on.
Oh, and by the way, Ash is pointing something out. He's saying there already is an Animal Farm comic being told. It's called Animal Castle. I've read it. It's really freaking good. Give that a try instead of the Tom King. You'll probably be better off. Nowadays, it's amazing if you can get 3 good issues. Yep. Donald Trump has influenced modern comics more than any of the great comic creators of the past. Wow.
Well, okay, now I'm going to defend modern comic creators. They couldn't match those that came before them on their best day, even if they made a deal with Satan. So, since you can't be good, you might as well just try to smite your enemies.
Be the worst. If you can't be good, be the worst, right? Okay, I got a question. I have a serious question about this, and you guys might actually shut down my channel for this one, but it's a legitimate question. Nowadays, we do get a narrative. We do have some great artists out there, and we get, in some cases, character continuity. Based on those issues, the fact that you do get continuity, you do get more character development even, are modern day comics better than Golden Age and Platinum Age?
No.
Art-wise, maybe, sometimes?
Yes and no.
And show your work.
No, the good writers can make, the good writers, yes. Obviously, Hawkman, Venditti, Brubaker, those guys can craft incredible stories.
Those aren't modern writers, though.
Venditti and
yeah, they've been around forever and a day.
What do you consider modern? Like with the past few years?
What do you consider modern then?
Okay, well, you know what? I did say modern comics, so I'm sorry. I apologize for interrupting with that. Yeah.
No, I thought you were talking people that are writing today that weren't around.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah, I'm going to take all that back. I apologize.
As simple as the Golden Age stories were, they were fun. Mm-hmm. The bad guy, the good guys beat the bad guys, and and the people and the readers had fun getting there. Now, I mean, I'd rather read something simple and direct than somebody that thinks they're way more clever than they are. Just, again, like I said, when you've got people writing, making Doug Ernst a villain, and probably sitting there going hee while they're doing it and doing something else I'm not going to do on camera. It's no, I mean that it may look better, but at the end of the day, I'm not sure they are any better. And like I said, those guys were the writers of their day too, and those early Batman stories, there was actually a lot more to them. The early Superman stories had a lot more to them than you'd see at first glance.
Ahsoka's asking what the Platinum Age is. There are a few ages that don't get talked about. The oldest comic book I think there's a new oldest I've got to look up, but the oldest was The Adventures of Brandy Oldbuck. I'm getting the title wrong, but I did a video on it about 5 or 6 years ago. And that would be in the Victorian age, which would lead us to around the beginning of last century, maybe a few years in. And then the Platinum Age starts, and the Platinum Age is when they started taking comic strips from the magazines, or they would put them in the newspapers and so forth. And then, of course, we've got the Golden Age that started in 1938. Platinum Age would bring us stuff like Mickey Mouse and comics. It would bring us the Phantom, Pixies, Mutt and Jeff, the Katzenberger Kids, things like that.
The early issues of Detective Comics.
Yeah,
the first 26 issues of Detective Comics.
I gotta say though, if you're comparing just art alone, the Golden Age to modern, it really even that it's there are certain books.
Hang on a second. Sorry to interrupt. Ash, let's not do this. You throw one example and act like we're attacking. No, we're speaking in generalities.
What's going on?
Of course, you're going to find something. And that's subjective, not objective, or that's whatever that is. Animal Castle is better than anything in Platinum Golden Age. Full stop.
That's his opinion.
But I knew it was.
I've read, and I'm going to say this once, and obviously it is your opinion, but no, when you say full stop, you mean everything from, and I will put up any Will Eisner up against that. Full stop. So you can't say like this is better than everything, because trust me, I'm going to be saying that you don't know everything about the Golden Age on that.
If we're reading it wrong, then,
once again, that's an opinion. So yeah. And I will say this: Animal Castle really is a good book. Go out and check that out. There you go. We're getting off topic here.
I was speaking more in terms of the Golden Age and the Platinum Age stuff is better than what the people that the industry spits out. Like I said, I'm talking more like the Vitas, the Dannys, the Tom Kings, the Vic Stephanie, the people that get to take the characters that were written, that were on the shoulders of giants, and getting to reimagine them is absolute crap.
You had more of a selection, like you did.
I would also. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Venkman.
Well, yeah. I was gonna say you had more selection back in the Golden Age than you do now. You're very limited as far as titles, because most titles you run into especially Marvel. Unless you're reading Moon Knight, pretty much everything over there is just woke writers, and I mean political inserts or just watered down versions of characters, or they turn the characters into the villains, the X-Men, and then we're supposed to feel sorry for them, and it's the point where it's like, I don't care for that stuff. But as far as Golden Age though, I said art, Golden Age art compared to modern art, there's a lot of Golden Age book art that's better than modern. Hell, I'll take the Hawkman and the Flash, the Jay Garrick modern, not the modern, but the Golden Age art.
God, that is scary, though, to say that and kind of be right in a couple. Well,
there are modern artists and writers that I could put in the age in the 1980s and go, they would be good there. Like Ram V or Robert Venditti, they would be good in the 80s and 90s, 70s even.
But man, look at Gardner Fox though, and compare his writing. Compared to maybe Ram V, or even, like I said, like he beats out Tom King, he beats out Bendis, he beats out a lot of them. Gardner Fox wasn't the best writer, but he, you knew what you're getting, and most time it was good stuff.
Another way to look at that is whenever the argument comes up when you talk about comparing athletes and eras, and they say, well, Oscar Robertson wouldn't even start on an NBA team today. And my response is no, he would still be the best, one of the 2 or 3 best players in the NBA, because if he came along today, he would have those 60 years of advancement in nutrition, training, health, etc. Same thing with the writers. Genres grow, styles grow, expectations grow. The everything grows and changes. If these older writers had come along, decades later, they would have the same advantages. They were good writers then. They'd still be good writers today. I don't know that you could say that you could take, some of the modern writers and put them in any era and they're still going to suck.
And Dick Quinn saying they turned X-Men to a gay club. I wouldn't say that, but I'd say that they basically took the Hellfire Club and made it everything takes place in the Hellfire Club.
Now, Maranya has a comment. I prefer Silver Age and Golden Age silly. It's Silver Age silliness, Golden Age goofiness to modern outright mean-spiritedness. There are exceptions in modern comics, but they are few and very far between overall.
Now, used to kill people.
There was I was on Reese's stream the other night. We were talking about the different ages, and one of the things I liked that they did was they tried to get rid of the metals, platinum, gold, silver, so forth and so on. And what would you call everything? And golden stayed golden, but it was like I forget what they called, what I would call the Marvel Age. And I think the 80s to 90s up to like it was 86 to 2000 was called the Rise of the Independent, which I thought, that was pretty cool, because that was when you had Crumb and a few others, but that was really when independent comics and independent creators really burst through. 2000s was a dark age.
But the first half of the 80s was when the indie resurgence really happened.
Well, it was a buildup. It was a buildup to what would end up being Image and Dark Horse and all of them.
That's discounting First. You have Nexus, Badger, Sable, Pacific. That's the Star Slayer. Rocketeer, Grimjack. Hell, there's so much indie creativity in that first half of the 80s that if you're going to call something the Rise of the Independents, you have to start that farther back.
Yeah, I was going for post-crisis. From 1986, it's all post-crisis.
Yeah, it's and that's a good line of demarcation, because really, the first half of the 80s was owned by Marvel, and in what was happening in the direct market, the independent companies, with Pacific basically folding, and I guess they became, their properties were bought by Eclipse, Capital folding, their properties were bought by First, and really neither one of them, they both barely made it into the 90s. But for those years, incredible creativity. And then the second half, post-crisis, when DC figured out, wow, we can actually do a really good comic book universe. Instead of fun comics along the way, but
what? This should be our next conversation, where it's you and I were talking about comics, because one of the things I thought they did a lot of fun with was coming up with lines of demarcation. Obviously, the Golden Age begins with Superman, and at the very least, you would say the Silver Age would be the introduction of the Flash. Even though Martian Manhunter came out a few years before, he didn't have the cultural impact. So the Golden Age would have to be from Superman to the Flash, and then whatever the next run, which would start with the Flash and end with what I believe you would say, the death of Gwen Stacy, because you got to figure what's the demarcation. Is it a tonal shift? Is it a price? Is it a year?
I've heard people say Conan #1 is the beginning of the
and I think that's I think that was one of the things. And then I laid my foot down after whatever you call from 1973, was it, when Gwen Stacy died?
Yeah.
You got to end that at Crisis, because you had another tonal shift in comics. Everything changed, not just DC, but Marvel had to play along also, because things changed. And that we found out that we talked about, it ends with 9/11 and a new era begins.
I have heard, I've never heard anybody take the copper, I mean the Bronze Age that far in, because I think a lot of people just kind of end the Bronze Age in about 1980.
Yeah,
And I'm guessing that would have something to do with Frank Miller's Daredevil being such a game changer that it kind of showed just how I don't want to say adult, but how mature you could do a comic code approved book, and that I'd say X-Men got a little bit more real after that. I love Claremont and Byrne up to that point, but I think that kind of influenced that. I'm sure that influenced Simonson, probably influenced even Byrne, and look at what Denny O'Neil did with Iron Man. All of that probably comes as a result of what Frank Miller came up with for Daredevil. And I think that's why they kind of have the Copper Age start. A lot of people started with him and then take it. Where the Copper Age ends, I don't know if anybody's got it.
It's weird because I've always counted Frank Miller, even though it does bleed into the 80s, I've always counted Frank Miller's run on Daredevil as Bronze Age.
Well, again,
But the weird thing is I think I've counted, say, like the Teen Titans or Warlord, as you guys are going to see a whole bunch of that, as Copper Age. I know I've done that, but we were the conversation was going more tonal and more. Let's judge it by, instead of years and such like that, judge it by tonal shifts in the market, and also as far as creativity is concerned, and also with landmarks or what story marks, whatever you would want to call it, like the death of Gwen Stacy. Like after Crisis, which is absolutely a line of demarcation for at least one company, where would you say that ends?
You mean for DC or for the comics in general?
Or the comic book industry as a whole?
See, I don't know. Is the only age that I said gold into silver? That's a pretty easy one. Showcase 4, because of the superhero revival.
Obviously, boom.
If you want to haggle over when
yes, I do. That's the whole point of this conversation.
Right. I know. Thank you, Beckman. But as far as like when the other ages ended, I don't know if there is an exact right answer.
Because that's what we're coming up with, Eric. That's
did 9/11 change? Do you start a new age there? Because I don't think that really affected how people.
Okay, here's the argument for it, and I would have my ending would be Grant Morrison. I'm sorry, did I offend?
I didn't turn my sound off.
Now, my ending to the to whatever you would want to call the years between after Crisis, my ending would be the beginning of Grant Morrison's Justice League or Brian Michael Bendis' Spider-Man, because that's when everyone started writing for the trades. And did you just poop on me, boy? What the?
Well, you just mentioned Grant Morrison and Brian Michael Bendis. What was he supposed to do?
But we're trying to get away from the metals. Don't talk about metals. Like what would you call it if you took away the metals? Like obviously, even though it starts with Showcase, I would call Showcase 4 to the death of Gwen Stacy, the Marvel Age.
Even though Marvel didn't participate in the first 5 years of that?
No, from all the way from from Showcase
60.
4 all the way up.
Right, but
because the most significant thing that happened.
Yeah, because Marvel was 63 or 61.
Yeah, I know, but between those years, the most significant thing that happened was the rise of Marvel Comics.
Fair.
So I mean, it started with the Flash, but the Flash leading to Green Lantern, leading to what was next? Challengers, Legion, ultimately they came up with Justice League, and that sparked off for DC Comics the most expensive golf game in history, because that's where supposedly where Marvel got the idea of doing their own team. So even though the Flash could spark it off, it just led to Mort Weisinger saying we need superheroes, and thus the Marvel Age.
The
Well,
Oxygen Age.
you mean Martin Goodman.
Yeah, I did. Weisinger was DC.
Speaking of Mort Weisinger, did you hear? Legend had it that he was, to call it, like, the kindest that you could say about him was that he was a curmudgeon.
Yeah.
And he basically hated everybody, with the exception of Neil Adams. But Neil, was it, Mort, why are you such a prick to everybody? And he goes, Neil, every morning I wake up, go to the bathroom to shave, and I have to look at this face in the mirror. It's kind of interesting little tidbit, because I don't know if you remember what he looked like. He was not a handsome man.
Ahsoka, the Oxygen Age. You talking about like the early Marvel bullpen where everybody smoked cigars in the office? We call it the Mad Men Age.
MK is asking, do we know by heart the years the Gold and Silver Age started and then entered into the Modern Age?
Well, that's
1930.
Thing, yeah, we know that.
1954, and considering, I agree with you with the death of Gwen Stacy. If you're going tonal, 1973, which would lead to 1986, which was the Crisis. Which, if you go by what I think, where people started writing for the trades instead of writing individual comics, that would lead to about 1997. From there, you could call it the Dark Age, because 9/11, 2001, all the writers were basically writing their feelings for what happened. And we had the Civil War. We had all sorts of crises on DC's part. I would call that the Dark Age, and that would lead to 2013, and that's the shit age.
Well, I was gonna say I have a name for that.
What?
Aging poorly.
Aging poorly. Yeah, and starting in 2013, it's all new, all different comics.
According to Google, the 8 ages of comics is Victorian Age, which went from 1842 to 1897, Platinum Age, 1897, 1938, Golden Age, 38 through 56, Silver Age, 56 through 70, Bronze is 70 through 85, and then Modern is 85 and up.
All the way to now.
Yeah. So basically when I was born, that's the Modern Age.
That's horseshit. So every other age has about 12 to 13 years, if you want to go by dates. And Modern has 40. It's a bullshit. It's a bullshit way of being.
Yeah. Now I think the Bronze. When did the Bronze end and when did Copper begin? I think you can make legitimate cases. I think both of us made legitimate cases for what we believe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But assuming there is a Copper Age, which a lot of people do say.
Yeah, I'm trying to have fun and get away from the metals, and I want to know
that time period. When did that time period that's no longer a metal, but whatever we want to call it, when did that actually end? And so was it when people started writing for the trades?
What would you call it? What would you call the Bronze Age if we're not using the name Bronze Age? What represents the 1970s to 86 to you? What is the books, or what is the theme of the books that you would
that also?
Okay.
Mine are a little bit more wordy. The coming of age.
The what?
The coming of age.
The coming of age. Okay. All right. I think I see that.
And I'd be curious if Ash is still in the chat, if he would agree with that, because that's it is. I mean, as much as I love what came before it, they have their place, and I can read that stuff all day, every day.
Okay.
But watching comics grow and change in those 15 years. I said you could never have imagined, something like the death of Gwen Stacy in 1965. You couldn't have imagined I don't think you could have imagined Daredevil even in 1973. So it's like it kind of aged, you know, incrementally. And then, you know, I said by when you know, non-big two, and it's hard to think of like the Dells and the Gold Keys of the world, because at one time they were just as big. But the indies changed, you know, so much in the first half of the 80s also.
Yeah. I was going to say for at least for DC, for me, you have the Silver Age, and then you have the John Byrne Age.
Okay, so I like that, the coming of age. Comics are finding their footing to where they could tell real stories and not just one-off and villain of the week kind of things. I like that. That leads into post-crisis, which I think MARANYA just named better. She says, I call the Dark Knight Returns, the Watchmen, the deconstruction age. Starting with Crisis, where we're getting new takes on DC Comics. We've got the Dark Knight, which you get some books that have learned the wrong lesson, and it becomes a deconstruction age. And
yeah,
that's not a bad way.
Although I would say, yes, Dark Knight Returns and the Watchmen were deconstructionist stories, but what DC was doing in those first 5 to 10 years post-crisis, what made them so good is they didn't deconstruct everybody.
They were rebuilding.
Or they were. I don't even know if rebuilding is the right word, because they were. I mean, it was like they were writing the same characters, but they weren't the same characters in a lot of cases.
Or reconstruction,
because they've been written. To me, DC had always been like Three's Company. You can watch any episode from any season of Three's Company, and you're not missing anything, because there was no development before or after. It was just there.
Well, they changed
That's what DC
Ropers.
was. You couldn't do that with Marvel, because what happened in Fantastic Four 4 matters in Fantastic Four 44. DC, it didn't. It was
now,
almost no exceptions.
Yeah,
this is why I would say the Silver Age. Take the elements away. We're trying to come up with good names. Basically, what's the theme of that? And I do believe that the Silver Age should be called
the Hokey Age,
the Marvel Age, and that's because a lot of things happen in the Marvel Age, but ultimately the theme, and that is the growth of Marvel. It's like okay, you've got post-crisis, which we can call the Reconstruction Age. That still has the rise of Image and all that kind of stuff, but it's all in that one particular age. It's just we call this year 2023, but a lot of shit happened in 2023, not just one thing. And I gotta say, I've got a really good name for 2000s to 2013, and Civil Crisis. That's all it was. It was just crisis after crisis, Civil War, the events of the Civil War, the beginning of the 2000s, or you can even call it Ultimate Civil Crisis, because the only significant thing that happened in the beginning of that of the 2000s really is the Ultimate Universe. I'm sure you had some good stories here or there within these years, but
it was
the
beginning
basic
of the end.
theme was the chaos and the breakdown and the destruction of two universes of comics.
But yeah,
I like what Guns side. Today is a swapping age. Basically swap meets. That's why we're going.
I like that. Mute That Bozo he's got this figured out. The Ropers were better than Mr. Furley.
They were.
And that's what we're here for.
Okay.
Jack, my wife wants me to put up shelves. I'm tired of putting up shelves.
MK is saying, and Eric have an interesting question. Which age would you guys say would be the copycat age? Oh, this one, obviously, or inspiration age, meaning the age where Marvel and DC copied each other's characters. Well, obviously, Marvel coming in
60s, 70s.
had copied a whole shitload of comics that DC had already created. You did get I mean, even the Hulk is Solomon Grundy. You know, it's you could probably point to different things. I would say the '60s would be more copycat than anything else. What about you, Eric?
I would say it's been there. Copycat has existed all along in some form. I mean,
yeah,
all the way back to Doom Patrol and X-Men coming out within a month of each other, Swamp Thing and Man Thing coming out. I mean, I believe Len Wein and who created Swamp Thing?
Deadpool, Deathstroke.
I think we're living together when they came up with those. I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I was going to say something in an aside. When I was talking about how DC was kind of like an episode of Three's Company. Really, the one exception in the superhero universe at that time was the Doom Patrol. Arnold Drake wrote that like a Marvel series. Rita and Steve Dayton's relationship culminating in their marriage, and their what happened in one issue did carry over to the next. DC fans pretty much rejected that whole cloth because their audience wasn't ready for that.
Yeah. I've been finding out personally, like I said, in the 86 to 2006 is probably the best years DC had. I know there are a few early DC stuff, but
Joe, at the beginning though, the only difference was really that Swamp Thing could think. Now it's totally different because better writers have come along and just really expanded on the Swamp Thing, and Man Thing has just kind of languished for the entirety of his creation.
Yeah. I can see people who like the Jeff Johns era. If you grew up with that, you really enjoy that. But man, I go back to the Dixon universe. Going off, starting with John Byrne reinventing Superman. We got Justice League International. All these the relaunch titles and they just felt much more entertaining.
Yeah,
DC actually tried to do actually to put out decent quality books. Before it was because kind of like Neil Adams was a great drawer, but it kind of felt like Daniel Neal was just kind of milking it.
We are definitely a John Byrne over Mark Waid Superman fans on this channel.
What about Daniel Neal milking or what?
It just felt too serious. We got too heavy, kind of political. The whole Speedy on cocaine or whatever, heroin, whatever he was using.
You got to remember when that was done.
Yeah,
that was 1970. That was DC attempting to be relevant.
And by the way, Neil Adams, he wasn't a side character on that story. He was actively wanting to do that.
I can see why. Look at his Twitter feed before he passed away.
Well, they actually, both of them have come out and said since then that they could have done. I mean, it was neither one of them call it their best work, even though it has stood the test of time. It's almost like it's that thing that's out there, and the people that say how great it was, the people that haven't read it. Because when you do read it, it was.
They're like I say, I'm not trying to knock their run together, but there was a good story from there. It was that was, the birth of the demon, the rise of Ra's al Ghul, or Tales of the Demon. That was actually really good, and that, until test of time, that's still going to be a really, really fun story to read.
Oh yeah, that's better than anything they did in Green Lantern, Green Arrow, and
yeah,
and fortunately, it's very well remembered also. But I said Green Lantern, Green Arrow, it happened at a point in time when it was just so stark. I mean, for somebody that had been reading Gardner Fox and Gil Kane to get hit with this between 75 and 76, the issue numbers, not the year, it was like, holy crap, what is this? But like I said, E has put many a time when the guy is dressing down Green Lantern, saying you help the blue skins, the purple skins, yeah, because I'm out saving the universe.
Yeah, that was
if I can't do that, It doesn't matter what's happening on your block.
But weren't they also kind of copying Marvel at the same time? Marvel had the protest, the college, by Robertson's kid was leading it. That was kind of the civil rights movement.
Marvel was pushing the envelope as much as the code would allow, and it was, it was actually the government that came to Stan Lee with the idea for the story. They wanted to get an anti-drug story out there, and basically, I said the code didn't approve it, but that was basically what ended up defanging the comics.
Because I'm not a huge. Everybody knows I'm not a huge fan of stuff previous to the post-crisis stuff. And I say post-crisis because I don't acknowledge everything came after it. The final crisis and all the other crisis stuff. The first crisis, that's all you should have had. You don't otherwise become Marvel. Reset. We have to reset. I got to the point where I didn't care anymore. But I don't know. Like I said, I will always cherish the 90s because everything was DC from 87 and on was really trying to compete with Marvel. Marvel had to start out strong in the 80s. They were still going somewhat. By the time they got to the 90s, they're kind of fizzling out, but DC took the lead then. So I thought, I said, honestly, from the 80s to the 90s, to 2000s, is the best year for Marvel DC. At least you can start off in Marvel, you read through that. Once you get the 90s, you can kind of dip out, go for the DC. But
if that guy creates another profile and jumps in, there's 8,000 blue wrenches. Have fun.
Yeah.
By the way, I don't know.
I don't even acknowledge it anymore.
Don't read it.
Yeah.
Don't acknowledge it. Don't read it. Don't do anything other than that. Just guys, have fun. You got the wrenches, get them. So.
That's right, Bozo. You're on warning.
Yeah, one of my favorite things was when, I don't know if it was Ethan's people or whoever came over and they went, holy shit, that's a lot of blue wrenches. And they were just, you're done. Bye-bye. Have a good day. Right. Glenzer is saying Harry Osborn was a drug addict. Tony Stark was an alcoholic. What was the first message character for DC?
Carol, was it? Well,
yeah, Carol Danvers was a feminist. She worked for Ms. Magazine, the whole 9 yards.
Feminist, and then alcoholic.
Yeah.
So she wasn't perfect.
No,
my God.
But who was the real first message? Because even the X-Men weren't supposed to be, in spite of what people will tell you today, Stan Lee had no intentions of making Malcolm X and Martin Luther King.
It was Aunt May and those gams.
It was Aunt May. It was Stop Ageism. Everybody's sexy. The Scarab is older than Iron Man. Yes, it is. And MK is saying he's seen people say Blue Beetle copied Iron Man with the new movie. Kind of. I mean, the Scarab gave powers, but they didn't give him an Iron Man suit. Or where do you guys stand on that? The new Blue Beetle. You think he's an Iron Man ripoff? Are you okay, Bertie?
He's more like I want to say more. He's not really a Green Lantern, but he's kind of like, I'd say he's more like how am I trying to say it? He's supposed to be the younger version of not just Iron Man, but just like a Spider-Man type. At first they made him. He wasn't supposed to be a virtue signal. He was just another kid he was a teenager, who thought, that, Batman, Superman, he was fans of those characters. And then him getting the super suit, it's kind of like Static. You remember when Static came around?
Yeah.
It's kind of like built for kids, like, growing up watching cartoons. His character was kind of like for younger generation. Like, we've grown up reading about all these superheroes, and then one day you get the ability to be a hero,
I watched the cartoon. I'm used to seeing him as a cartoon to the point where when I did the comic book origins of Static,
you read it like the cartoon.
Well, no, it was a lot more hardcore than I thought it was. I was like, holy shit, he's okay. I get it.
It is true that cartoons versions. Oh my gosh.
Well, they have.
I dare to say that the cartoon version of Justice League is more popular than the comic books. to most readers today.
You were part of that generation that grew up on the Justice League cartoon, weren't you? Yeah.
I want to address a couple things real quick.
What's up?
One camera.
Mute that bozo might actually be older than me. He said, "My word is a junkie." I remember buying that off the rack.
Whoa!
I was 9, I think, when that came out. And the Ace 2. No, I don't think he was overrated at all, because before he took over Marvel and ushered in the most creative period in that company's history, other than the literal creation of the characters, he wrote Legion of Superheroes at 13. I think he wrote Captain Action. Can you imagine what it'd be like you're writing a book and Wally Wood is your artist?
I know, right?
Wow. And like I said, was he ever as good as, because like Marvel, he was the editor-in-chief of Marvel in his absolute prime. Because, now granted, he had the best characters in the world to be in charge of. So, I mean, his act wore thin at Valiant. I think he got voted out of his own place there. I think they might have done the same thing to him with Defiant. And then the third try, which I can't remember, was it Techno? Or I don't know what it was, but it had the character called Fatale that VENKMAN would have liked. But no, at Marvel, absolutely not, because he also wrote the best run of Avengers in that book's history, including what Ian and I think is arguably the best story ever, the Korvac saga.
Oh, you've come around.
No, I've always said that.
Oh, I thought you were more a Kree Skrull.
No. I said they're close, but I like the Korvac saga a little better.
Yeah, Korvac saga is the greatest run of Avengers.
It brought in more. It had more going on.
Going back to your question about who is at the most characters with the message, you back to the 40s.
Or when was the first message character?
The War Bond, all that stuff. You had Wonder Woman and all them.
Those are characters with a message, but as opposed to
created for message. Well, Wonder Woman was created as a feminist first.
In all honesty, he is right about that. William Marston created Wonder Woman so girls would have something to look up to. You could say that she was the first feminist character written to be a feminist.
You could also say that every major character came with a message, as far as like for people to look up to, aspire to be, even though in most cases that was impossible.
You could also say she was a message character to try to normalize BDSM.
But the first character at DC to have their character completely changed and altered for a message, I would say, was Speedy, because they gave him a real life of the day problem.
Yeah. Now, the X-Men and their message really didn't come around until Chris Claremont took over. And that's when all of a sudden Stan Lee wrote these characters to be Malcolm X and Martin Luther King. And he was like, no, I didn't. Now, and of course, when he was 90 and they wheeled him out, I remember creating them to be Martin Luther King. And no, dude, you said a long time ago. I mean, God bless you. You're still kicking. Not anymore. But yeah, I was so pissed at people at Marvel whenever they needed some sort of bullshit identity politics backed up. They would wheel Stan Lee out so he could be like, now listen, kids. Marvel is the world outside your window, and we just moved to a lesbian bar. By the way, my joke before Richard said it.
we need Trusty.
So, he's got a great Stan Lee imitation.
And I'm not going to pile on to Avengers 200. That idea didn't work, but I said it. I've seen worse now.
That wasn't good though.
No, it wasn't. But it wasn't. It was like somebody thought. It's like, who thought this was a good idea at the time? Well, apparently everybody. because they did it. But it's still, at least, some of the stuff that's happened since, some like the stuff we get now, that's just, this was like they thought they'd come up with something really clever here, but nowadays you get stuff, to me, it's just like far more offensive than that ever was.
Yeah, that is.
Hell, Captain, every from Kelly Sue DeConnick, every iteration past that to me is more offensive than Avengers 200.
Had she ever written anything good?
Kelly Sue?
Yeah.
Yes.
What did she write?
A Sif series in, I think, Journey into Mystery.
Yeah.
Before she became, I would say, before Twitter, because I think that's what ruined all of the Gales and the Kelly Sues, and I don't know who else Twitter took down with them. But when this was still based on merit, Marvel, like Jason Aaron was writing good stuff for Marvel. A lot of guys are just absolutely crap now. Were writing good stuff. I don't know if it was because you had to produce in those days. I'm going to guess you probably still had to produce. Now you don't have to. Now you just have to check the right boxes, and whether or not you tell a story that doesn't suck is irrelevant, because you're going to get the next assignment. Justia Axelrod is getting another assignment after Hawkgirl. Enough said. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Wonder Woman became the secretary for the Justice. No. Okay. Here's what happened. Let me clear this bullshit up. All right. She wasn't the secretary, as in she sits at a desk, types forms all day and everything like that. What she was the keeper of the the keeper of the logs, basically. She was the what do you call it? The notes, note keeper or something. What it was is that.
Wait a minute. So you're saying that she was on a team with nothing but men, and she was the keeper of the logs?
Let me finish here. Let me talk about this for just a touch. So what it was is that the Justice Society was made to highlight a lot of characters that didn't have their own books at the time. There was one character that was or did. I may have that wrong, but one character was Hawkman. He was way too popular to get rid of, so they kept him around. Of course, we know she made her appearance in issue number 8 of of the All-Star Squadron, or whatever it was. What the freaking hell was that book? Not All-Star Squadron.
All-Star Comics.
Justice. What the freaking hell? I mean, I swear I'm blanking on
All-Star Comics.
All-Star Comics. Thank you. And she actually joined the team in issue number 11, but she wasn't to be used because James Marsden said don't use it. He's the only writer. That was part of the contract. So he allowed her to be in the beginnings. He allowed her to be in the ends. And if you read the older issues, what it was like they were like, hey, guys, we're here today. What was your adventures? And I'm paraphrasing, of course, and then they would go off and they would tell each individual adventure. That was until I think it was number 14, where they went off to have their own adventures, but they all found out they were fighting the same guys, so they came together as a team to defeat them. That was actually issue number 14 is the real first appearance of the Justice Society. Because otherwise they were we're meeting to tell our own individual stories. But since, of course, Marsden had a stronger hold on Wonder Woman than most creators back in the day, kind of like Bob Kane did with Batman, he was to be the only person who wrote. Of course, that went away, but that's what happened. So she couldn't be an active member of the Justice Society. So she was the one that kept the, kept the minutes, I think it's called. So there you go. I know I'm paraphrasing the story. I might put it together and do an actual book, but that's the basic story of that. And I got to tell you, man, I had looked and I could not find where Justice Society became a team. And then I said, I'm just going to read them. And then finally, issue number 14, there you go. They finally team up.
When did the Justice League become a team?
When did the
If you
shit?
read those early issues, it's never more than 2 of them at a time.
Was it 17?
Is it number 17 where they first team up?
Ustaro?
No, that's
No.
that's the thing. They would what they would do is they would have their adventures, and 2, like 4 or 5 groups of 2 would go off together, but they would come together at the end for like one panel, where and it would look like an SJW comic, because they come in and when they all get together, they easily defeat the bad guy in like a half a panel, because by that time they'd already used up 23 and a half of the 24 pages.
Just a second. Let me see if I can't find that.
You know what that sounds like? Arrow.
But I think Justice League didn't they come together at the end to defeat Starro by themselves?
Oh, they might have it, but again, like I said, mostly, they do them in chapters, and they'd be like Batman and Martian Manhunter versus that kind of thing.
They always had the chapters,
and they come together, like I said, and win in like a panel.
I love those chapters. You can have an intermission break during the reading.
Yeah, those books were thick.
Trusty's he's like chapter 2. It's been 20 minutes. No. Yeah.
Right.
Trusty loves those old readings that go over an hour and a half. He just lives for those.
I guess I got my Brave and the Bolds on disc somewhere. I got to add them to the computer. I want to get a couple of those big terabyte things where it's like 3 terabytes. I could just fit all the comics on one.
I kid you not. When I heard the Brave and the Bold, I thought, like, what is Eric talking about?
And it's 28, I think. 28 is the first appearance of Justice League, right? Yeah. But anyway, there you go, guys. Some golden age comic book history.
Hey, Yul Carter.
Hey, what's up, Yul? How you doing? Early Wonder Woman was a bondage fetishist. I mean, that's why I said it could have been a message of BDSM, because
wait. Early
the way to take away Wonder Woman's powers was to tie her down. Which, by the way, yes, of course, to take a woman's power, you tie her up and you can do what you want and blah blah blah.
Are you saying that George Perez wasn't the creative for that?
Oh, he was not the first into BDSM in comics. No, that would be William. As far as we know, William Marston.
Can we just give him credit for the restraint he showed when he finally got to write Wonder Woman?
Yeah, no kidding, right?
His proclivities, I would have thought that would have made the Marston era look tame.
There should have there was.
And I would have liked it a lot better, by the way, if he had.
Rhaegar would be 50 Shades of Wonder.
I like that. Yeah, that would be George Perez's Vertigo book, and it would just basically be Wonder Woman.
Oh, did anybody read that John Byrne book he did in the late 2000s? It was kind of like a adult book. It was an image book. I forgot what it's called, but it was all women on the book.
Babe?
Hell, it was Babe. It was John Byrne though.
Yeah,
Sirens.
Sirens.
I'm thinking of Sirens.
Perez.
Oh, sorry, George Perez, but sorry.
Yeah, and then there was Saxon violence too. So yeah, George got to get his kink on. Yeah.
There you go, man. That's why I like comic book history. It's all over the place. There's some crazy shit that happened in our hobby.
My gosh, we were reading Captain America was at 134. Falcon says as a Cap, I'm not gonna be your whipping boy.
Well, that actually has different connotation when it might be said to or by a black guy, but it really just means somebody who is who he takes everything out on.
I forgot who was writing that.
If you read, this is Stan Lee still. If you read those stories, Captain America, basically for about a 4-year stretch, it was about, is he truly so much a man out of time that he can't adjust to modern society? And the way some of it is written, it's sort of like to read it now, but again, you have to remember it was of its time, and it was, and you also got things that you could say that might have been considered, I don't know, almost a little shocking in those days, you just can't say now.
Oh my God.
But it was also, again, comics growing a little bit, And so, yeah, I mean, that's far from the most startling line of dialogue in a Captain America in that stretch.
You know, I just noticed something. If we all just went on as icons to go your avatars, we'd be Brainiac.
Say what?
Brainiac, 3 orbs. You turned your camera off. You know, Brainiac has the 3 on his forehead, the 3 orbs.
Oh, I see. I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, but his orbs aren't consisted of Cobra Kai and my daughters, Fred Flintstone, and 2
if
puppets.
you listen to what I said if you get to away our avatars.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
I did not hear that part.
It's okay.
Apparently, you had to bind the bracelets together. I'm all about the agenda. If it gets me laid, says Ed. I think Ed has been replaced by a 15-year-old.
You know, you're not getting laid by the people you want to be, though, in that agenda.
Yeah, that's true.
That's the thing. It's not the sex that you like. It's the sex that you get, you know, and you have to continue with the cult and saying, "Oh, that's the best."
Right.
Yeah, we're getting off track though.
We've been way off track from Wonder Woman. Has a story based on Donald Trump.
I also want to point out, I've noticed a trend in Ed though. He wanted to go balls deep in Jenny last
Apparently,
night. Yeah. Now he's talking about, you know, Jenna gets me laid. Ed, 1, step away from whatever alcohol you're taking. 2,
that's why I said he's been replaced by a 15-year-old.
But I want you to do though. I want you to go on Twitter so that way 10 years from now I can cancel you.
Okay.
Make all your tweets there. I'll wait 10 years. I'll go back and I'll cancel you.
All right.
Sexist comments.
That being said, we're about an hour and a half in, and yeah, we had done our topic at the beginning of the show. Yeah, I saw Rigger. So thank you very much, guys. Little news. I certainly appreciate everybody being here every time. By the way, oh yes, thank you for the reminder before I do the outro. Happy birthday to Maranya.
Yeah, happy birthday, Maranya.
Yeah, happy birthday to Jack Kirby and Maranya. I thought we would have had.
Yeah, let's just say happy birthday, Maranya. Jack Kirby's secondary.
She's more
important.
I'm shocked you didn't do a Jack Kirby celebration today.
Well, I was actually thinking of doing a reading of Devil Dinosaur and kind of doing a bad comic beatdown or something. Yeah. Pardon?
And Moon Girl?
No.
I'm sorry. Anybody who says Devil Dinosaur, it's Moon Girl with
it. It's Moon Boy and the Devil Dinosaur because that's Jack Kirby. But yeah, there were a few topics, but yeah, the one that we started with was Wonder Woman has a story based on Donald Trump fake news. If you came in late, start the video over. Don't forget to do all the clicking and the likings. Cool stuff. No Iron Man stuff, but a nice pair of earrings from my husband.
Why not Iron Man earrings?
I know, right? Go to Amazon. You can find that.
Come on, Mr. Maranya.
I almost had Gail convinced to get Joker and Harley wedding rings. Then she came to her senses and said no. Yeah.
You should get the Green Lantern.
You know what she should have said?
Huh.
I will do that with my next husband for coming up with that suggestion.
Yeah, right. But yeah, that I would take Superman.
Especially if you did Green Lantern and Star. Yeah.
Well, after the separation, we were talking, and she says, "No, I want a ring. I want a ring." And so I was coming up with ideas. I got her a ring, and it is sat in that box on a fucking shelf ever since I bought it. She never put that shit on.
Take returns.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm thinking. Would she notice if I took it back? But hey, you know what? She's got a ring. I think what it was is, when we got back together first, a little skeptical. Is it going to work? Isn't it? If I bought her a ring, maybe it would be a symbol, yada, yada. But okay, if she wants one, she gets one. It's just the way it is.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
I have some more.
What? Kind of defeats the purpose of celebrating birthdays. What do we do? Can you really have another birthday if you're dead? Well, people could celebrate the person. That's what I figure.
Well, Simonson was celebrating Jack's birthday this week.
Yeah.
Can I say something to you real quick, and back and sort of apply to you too. Miz is LA Knight tonight was one of the funniest things I've seen on wrestling in years. That guy is so talented. Did you see that, Venkman?
I did not watch Raw.
It was already on. It was on YouTube by 9 o'clock. It's a 4-minute thing. Check it out. He looks like him. He sounds like him. He had the mannerisms down. It was the best thing since Damian Sandow used to do him. I said, it's 4 minutes well spent.
You'll have to share me the link.
Let me talk to you, Yul. Yeah. Sorry.
So, what's he saying? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Where were we? What are we? Kind of defeats. It's a happy birthday. I shared out today on Twitter. I shared out the Jack Kirby documentary we did. Jack looked into it. I gave him this is how it went. I said, you know what we should do for Jack Kirby month? Every week we should do a video where we're talking about Jack Kirby's life, because you can break it down into 4 parts. You can have the Golden Age, the Marvel Age, the DC Comics, and then the battle between Stan and Jack. And he goes, really, you want me to do 4 videos like that? And I said, yeah, really find what's there and try to make 4 15-minute videos out of it. And he made those, and I went through and I did my best to edit some of it and put it all together in one 59-minute long video, and it has consistently been in the top 10 videos of every month since it had been made. What was it, 4 years ago, 5 years, some time ago, during his 100th anniversary there. So I try to do at least a few videos every month. This year I would have done more, but towards the end I got distracted. Today, by the way, I got a message right before Eric and I did our live stream in the afternoon that my aunt passed away about half an hour before we did our show. I tried to do my best then and now to not show how frustrated and how sad. She was the woman who helped raise me. Definitely one of the good ones. I know a lot of people say that she was legitimately somebody who truly looked after family. She's my Aunt Sandy. That's her name. And she passed today. And I want to tell you guys, thank you very, very much for joining me and talking, because it keeps my mind off of it. So you guys gave me a really good hour and a half here that I'm not thinking of her, or I'm crashed because being emotionally drained. So thank you everybody in the chat for doing that as well. It's very much appreciated.
Hey, Vincent, thank you. It's just sorry to hear, but my condolences.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's very nice of you guys. I used to, when me and Gail were separated and I started the channel, because she was not there, I was here all the time. It really is cathartic. It really is. It's fun, to chat about comics or even yell about something that's going wrong in the industry. And I really want to thank Eric. He had to deal with me when I got the message. He's just sitting there. I can only imagine awkwardly as I'm typing to my family, finding out what's going on.
I was thinking, you may have missed the whole Jack Kirby and all that stuff, but you can do your video, plan it for next year.
Yeah, that's actually it. I mean, let's face it.
You can schedule it. You're out, can't you?
Yeah, I'll put the video out and do it next year. I did want to do more, but I was distracted this month, and with all that was going on. Yes. I have offered up to my family, my uncle, my cousin. We've been best friends since child. We were introduced to each other at age 3 and 2, and we've been best friends since. And right now I know over there it is my uncle, both my uncles, one that was married to my Aunt Sandy and her brother, my Uncle Charlie, my cousin Amy, my cousin Chris, who are Sandy's kids. And I thought, and probably my Aunt Patricia is there as well. And I told them, look, guys, if you need me, let me be your gopher. So that might actually bite into something I might do this week. Because if they need me, I'll be there. You know,
I gotta ask. So, is it 80s week at your house? The purple and the black looks like it looks like 80s week.
Oh, I put some candy on my shoulder, and Twiddles went to town and ate a hole through the shirt. So
it just reminds you of the late 80s, early 90s. You know, they have the black over the purple. That was.
By the way, I love that combination anyway. But it's actually hot as hell in here. But in order to cover the hole in the shirt, I put
your shawl back on, Granny.
Yeah. There you go. Okay, yeah. So
I get my little butter candies out.
But yeah, in order to cover up the hole in my shirt,
it was just funny because I'm like, he's in Florida. He's wearing 2 layers.
Yeah, that's why. I'm hot right now.
He must be sick right now.
No. The sniffling was because I did get more messages, and I'm seeing stuff. I'm seeing an outpour from friends and family. And
if you're worried about holes in your shirt, just cut the sleeves off.
Yeah, I'm not that much of I don't want to be on cops. That's all.
There's mate. I wonder for a good light, Jimmy.
Have a good night, Joe. Be safe. Oh, by the way, I have said that to damn near everybody here. That came from my aunt. She used to, when me and Chris would go out, especially after we got our license.
Chris is the one that works at Disney.
She would always say, okay, where are you guys going? All right, be safe. One time she did not say be safe, and my cousin got into a car wreck. And that hit my superstition button too. So I try not to ever miss telling everybody be safe. So
I got to say, when VENKMAN said cut the sleeves off, what she said that Saturday, Rod Stream, the guy he does with is a guy from down about halfway down the state of Kentucky. And
yeah,
we had, like I said, Friday was probably the hottest day I've in 57 years in the state I've ever had. Well, Saturday morning he shows up, he's wearing a wife beater. And the line I used to make fun of him was, he's saying, I thought you were fresh off your appearances on Cops. So it's that's
well, I think of right away is Larry the Cable Guy. The cutout sleeves.
He died, didn't he, recently?
Yeah.
Did he?
I think he did.
Oh, I don't think Larry. You talking about Larry the Cable Guy Day?
Oh, he did, yeah.
I don't think so. You know who YouTube keeps saying is dead? It's Jet Li. I don't know why, but I always come across a video that says Jet Li died today. I'm like, he did not die. His manager died. No, because and it was killed by the Triad.
Oh no, he was pushing.
Yeah,
I've been keeping away from my mother-in-law because if she says the wrong thing, I will be in prison.
And he's still married.
Yeah, I saw that. I think someone must have jumped the gun and posted that, and that must be stuck in my head.
Well, anyway, guys, thank you very much once again. It's been a lot of fun. It kept my mind off for a while. I do appreciate it. Let's see what is going on. I can't promise I'm going to be doing anything, but if I can, I will. I love doing those afternoon things, especially if we're talking about comics. And instead of I'll do the drama. It gets clicks, but I love talking about comics the way we did today.
Speaking of comics, in 30 minutes, as you're talking about comics, in 30 minutes, I'm going to be going live with Ash and Zach, back fresh from his vacation, with his nice Robin Williams tan.
He's got a Robin Williams tan? Okay.
From Old Dogs?
Old Dog. Okay, yeah. Who was the guy who was really, really tan, Where the Boys Are, the Dracula, Zora the Gay Blade? What was his name?
Yeah.
Who?
George Hamilton.
George Hamilton, yeah. He always had it.
Or Ross and Friends when he goes for tanning and he comes out.
That was funny as yeah. All righty, guys. Let's see. Tomorrow, right? Today's Monday, so tomorrow's Tuesday. Please join Maranya and her friends in doing Maranya and Friends, and they do the Marvel Age superhero role-playing game.
Yeah,
It's been getting a bigger and bigger audience as it goes. I'm very happy about that because it was like stuck at 80 viewers. It would be like, oh, okay, it's growing, 80, done. You know, but they're getting a bigger audience, so please be a part of that.
It could because we're actually using a known character now. I've got Spider-Man on there. Otherwise, it's just been like kind of created characters.
Yeah, but that's kind of fun to create your own.
Yeah, but there's a reason people love IPs. Batman or Spider-Man, no matter how badly they're written, they still love that IP character.
Are the fossils meeting again? I don't remember.
So, we're like doing our summer replacement version.
Okay.
So I think this week it's Wednesday at 8. But I said Micah will be back, I believe, 2 weeks from Wednesday.
All right, and I will be getting at some point in time during this week. How many comics? So we are going to have a huge unboxing here because I'm going to be getting about 300 books because I made a mistake, but thankfully one of them wasn't too incredibly expensive. But 321, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 comics. So I'll definitely have a unboxing stream when that happens. Marvel Tales number 7, Sergeant Fury 58, Star Spangled War Stories 150, among others. So please check that out, or keep an eye out for that in any afternoon streams. And as always, guys, oh, and by the way, we will be having a hurricane stream. There's a hurricane that's going to be hitting Florida. We will be having a hurricane stream Tuesday night. I do believe they said it's going to get bad around 3 o'clock in the morning. Y'all could watch until the power goes out. So that's always fun. But you guys have a great time as always. And thank you very, very much for watching. Have a good night.
All right, kids.